Okay, so let's introduce, we've got Mark Bailey, the two gentlemen, never seen them before. I keep forgetting you're there. Two gentlemen, obviously Neil Baker, John Underwood, you've got your acting chairman in Mr. John Porter, you've got your general secretary, Kay Lathy, and you've got Mike Lightfoot, who is from the Trust, and something you may not know, but the other one at the end is Craig Edwards, who is your commercial manager.
It's a bit of an off-the-wall question, but seeing as now 90% of our songs contain the words bakes and unders, how obligated do you feel to stay at the club?
Well, what can you say? You know, we've got no plans to go anywhere, so that's all we can really say. Listen, you know, it's always a difficult situation because you never know what's going to happen in football, but we absolutely love it here. We've been here pretty much 7 years now. We live and breathe it. You know, as I said, we've got no plans. We want to keep pushing on. There's no question about that, and hopefully the club wants to push on as well. And if we do, we'll be here. Simple as that.
Yeah, we want to get Slough promoted. That's the aim. The songs are brilliant, and the support's brilliant. So thank you. We really appreciate it.
What about the home support? Bit more singing at the home games?
Yeah, listen. I know. I remember following my dad for years at Farnborough, and it was always the same. The home crowd was often quiet. The away crowd was brilliant because they all had a few beers or more than a few beers, and it's livelier. It's difficult to replicate that away feeling, I think, because also there's a number of people that are probably doing jobs and volunteer work and whatever else, and you get sort of maybe tied down doing other bits. So, but yeah, I mean, I think the hardest part is sometimes at home. I remember the Eastbourne game, and that's why I came out after the Eastbourne game. It was so quiet, and there was also a bit of that negative vibe. You know, like we hear it obviously in the main stand sometimes, and we just felt that we weren't playing great. It'd been a really tough Christmas, and we just felt that we needed that little bit more behind us. And I guess probably every manager and every team probably wants that as well. And it just felt at that time. That's why I came out and said what I said. But on the whole, you know, it's been a wonderful time here, and you know the fans have been absolutely so really supportive.
I was talking to some of the fans after the game Tuesday, and a few others about the fact that the away support is brilliant. For whatever reason, it's not always the same here, and there was a few good reasons given. You know, that some people have got jobs, other jobs they're doing. Some of the people that might sing, people tend to get scattered around the ground a bit. I actually think it's something we should anyone should think about. What can we do to make that happen? What can we do to get people to get behind the goal together and want to sing? You know, do we put on I won't suggest a few free beers, but we can. I think this is what these things are for. If people's got suggestions, and I know everyone wants to listen, Mark, John, everyone else wants to listen. If everyone's got ideas as to how we can incentivise people, just encourage people to get together.
It's not unique. I don't think it's unique.
No, it's not. But we shouldn't just say, oh, it's the same everywhere. We should still try and do something about it.
I just think they're just bunching together a bit more. Yeah. You know, I think that's quite a kind of stretched out terrace there. It's not very deep terrace either. You know, just I know it's having stood behind there a lot as well. Best view I've had. And not together. I think you can try and sort of condense yourself a bit more into the centre rather than spreading out. I think that might help a bit, but it's not a problem you need to. I think it's a psychological thing. I think when you tap an away ground, it's just, you're outnumbered and you want to make a bit more noise and get behind it. It's a bit different than going under there.
I would say on the whole though, it's better than most. Let's be honest. It's still better than most, but we strive for perfection on the pitch, you know, and we ask for perfection from you guys as well. You know, we're not too demanding at all. So, you know, that's where we are.
I was telling the kids on the way home because they came to the game on Tuesday night and were like really enjoyed the atmosphere and everything. And I was saying, so when we were at Western Park, I remember people handing song sheets around, you know, sort of so that those that didn't know the songs could actually join in.
And I think the other thing is the away support's absolutely fantastic in terms of numbers. You know, a lot of big clubs come here. We're planning those games, you know, working with the police, the local SAD, and all those sorts of things. And we look at that in reverse. You know, quite often we go to places that are a long, long way away. It's costing lots. You're paying for a coach, you're paying for this, you're paying for that, and we're still taking minimum 150, and that's just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah,
so we can't thank people enough
No,
for that.
it's
You know, when there's massive clubs that are coming this league and they bring similar, if not less, numbers than us.
yeah.
It's the best in the league.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, the hardcore of this club is, I think, incredible. To be honest, it's trying to maybe get the floating fans and people to buy into obviously what we're doing. So, yeah, come on.
Has anyone got any questions about either the playing squads or playing budget or promotion for next season? Let me go over here.
I knew Mark would be on line.
Well, let's get,
Like scrolling here.
Let's get to the nub of the issue really, but probably why the vast majority of people are here tonight.
Yeah.
Is that, what are our, first of all, the first question is, what are the chances, and what do you think the chances are of our promotion? That's of us getting promoted. That's the first question to the managers. The second question is then to the steering committee. Can we afford to be promoted? Can we afford to actually stay in the league that we are at the moment, let alone afford to move into the league above? And if you think that we can afford to move into the league above, how are we going to afford that? What are we going to do about it? How are we going to?
I'll give you some
You-
thinking.
you-
I'll give you some thinking.
That's still the question.
Yeah,
I'll deal with
Because
that.
if you guys say we've got a 1 in 10 chance of getting promoted, then, you know, 10%, okay, we need to take a look at it and maybe try and find a way to do it. But if it's a remote possibility that you think it's going to be, that we're going to achieve that. But if you reckon we're like 50-50, then we need to have some really strong plans in place to see how we're going to afford it if we get there.
I'll just flip, before we answer it, I'll just flip it on you.
Yeah.
Do you think we can get promoted?
Hell yeah! Well, I don't think we're going to win the league.
Yeah.
All right. But we've got a great history of getting to playoffs, and you guys have got a great reputation for getting to playoffs and winning them. Okay. So in what, 6 seasons, you've had 2 playoff promotions. So I would say we're going to make the playoffs this season. We've probably got about 1 in 3 chance of getting promoted.
Yeah. It's not
Alright.
bad. It's
Do
not
you agree
bad.
with that?
Yeah, it's not a bad guess. If I had to put money on who's going to win the league, 2 weeks ago I'd have said Havant, and now I'd probably say Wiltstone after the last 2 results, beating Havant 4-2 away and Bath 7-0. They look like they're in great form and they've got that 7 points on us, so they've got to be favourites to win the league. That's not saying we're not trying to chase them down. I personally think we'll get in the playoffs. I think that's over ambitious to say that, given where we are. It's still a lot to do. We've still got to get more points on the board, but our aim is to try and get some more wins as quick as we can and secure that spot. And then it's about how high you can finish. The way the playoffs are set, with, if everyone understands, with 2nd down to 7th, and if you come 2nd or 3rd, you go straight to the semi-finals and you're at home. Clearly, that gives you an advantage. If we can go straight to a semi-final here, I think we've got a really good chance. If you come 7th, then you've got to basically play 3 away games in 10 days. That becomes difficult. So I think we can give ourselves a good chance. I believe in us against anyone in this league, whether it's, even if it was Wiltstone and Havant. I think we've got players that are experienced and can handle big games. So we would go into the playoffs wherever we finish, believing we can win them. And it's not about, because we just missed out last year, and the aim this year has not just been can we get in the playoffs, it's can we win the playoffs. There's no point just getting in the playoffs and then losing in the quarterfinal or semi-final. If we're in them, we're in them to win them. So I believe we can do it, but it's not easy. There's some good teams up there as well, and if you're playing a Havant or a Bath or a Weymouth, there's some really, really good sides around it. So those games will be 50-50 calls, and I believe we can do it. As managers, we do. I see no reason why we can't.
I would say this is probably the best chance that we've got with the current group that we've got. I think they're so bought into the club, they're so bought into us and each other, and that is such a key thing. I don't know if many of you know, 12 of our 17 man squad is players that came up from step 3, that won the playoffs from step 3, and 12 of that 17 are punching above our weight effectively, but you get to a level, you learn a level, and I think we've got players that adapt and learn all the time and want to improve, and I think they've been doing that year on year since we've had them, and I believe that this could be our best chance. But as John said, there's so many good sides in this league, week in, week out, and once you get to the playoffs, they become massive games. So we know that we need to get as many points on the board as quick as we can to try and secure those playoffs, because what that does is it maybe takes the pressure off you a little bit. As you get further down the line and you haven't quite made the playoffs, you start to get a little bit nervous, and that's what we want to try and miss out on. We want to try and get ourselves in there as quick as we can, and once you're in there, you then start targeting, right, can we finish second, can we finish third, and stuff like that. But we've got some really tough games still to go. Obviously Havant twice, we've got Weymouth away, Bath away, Dorking away. We've got some really tough games to go, so that's why we're not counting any chickens or anything like that. We know that we've got a lot of work to do.
And to steering group about, can we get promoted? Can we afford to get promoted?
It's an interesting question, and it's a tough question. As a club, we are doing fantastic well. If you look at where we were 4 years ago, we were at Beaconsfield in front of crowds of 250, 300, that sort of number, and we certainly weren't in these surroundings. We got another promotion thanks to this squad, but are we punching above our weight where we're at right now? I think it's fair to say we are. We are punching above our weight, and as we custodians, first and foremost, we are just like a lot of you guys out there. We are volunteers. We are supporters, and we want to see the club do as well as it absolutely can. To do that, it's tough, and we are, we're working really hard. Hence why, Neil and John have mentioned it in a recent podcast you did, on the non-league podcast and things like that. To progress at this level, nearly all the clubs in this National League South have some sort of benefactor or investor or group of investors who are just putting money into the club. And at the moment, we as a club haven't had that. For the last few years, we haven't had that. We've had some good cup runs that have contributed. We've had, a massive growth on and off the pitch. As we say, we couldn't have two better managers here sat with us. They are, an absolute prize asset, and what they've done and how they worked is absolute testament. But to everybody out here, this is why we're having these sorts of things, because we need everybody involved with the club to try and pull together, to go out and to try and help everybody amongst us to help us push on. Are we planning for the future? Absolutely. Are we looking at what Category A looks like for ground grading for next year? Absolutely. We're doing all those bits and pieces, but there's no, on our AstroTurf pitch, there's no money tree down in the bottom corner or anything like that we can just refer to. So that is why we need to put the word out there that actually, we need support. I don't know if that answers your question enough, Mark.
So your emphasis is more about trying to find a benefactor.
Well, it's trying to generate revenue, Mark. Whatever, football costs money. Let's not beat around the bush.
Yeah.
Football costs money, and we need to try and get as much money in as we can to afford. The National League above the National League South is a significant jump. You're up against professional outfits that have run a business, many of which are loss-making. In that regard, we would never want to see this club in danger. We would never want to see it back in the days that it was 20 years ago, with a lot of people's effort that it's got back up to where it has. So we have to be responsible. But we also really want to support Neil and John in what they're doing.
So you don't see the way forward as you see the way forward more as finding a benefactor than growing the potential income streams and growing the club organically.
I think you could, but I think you'd need to do it at a rapid rate. If I'm brutally honest, increasing club, we'd need to be getting. If you look at clubs in our league that are trying to do this, like the likes of the Maidstons, the Hattons, and those sorts of things, they have benefactors and they're bringing in 1,500, 2,000 people every week. And it doesn't take a wizard to work out the maths of what that actually looks like. And that's where there's no panic here. There's no oh my God, we're in danger or anything like that. We're in a reasonable position as we are now. We're in a good position. On the pitch, off the pitch, we're where we are. But yeah, you're right to challenge and say where do we go and what do we need. We absolutely need people's support, and we need everybody to like Neil turned around the question. We need everybody to ask that question yourself. What can I do for the club? What can we all do to try and bring this forward? This thing that we love so much.
Whether that's going to your employers and seeing whether there's any interest in sponsorship, whether you can pick up some advertising, keep coming to games, keep buying, paying the ticket on the door, buying a drink at the bar. bring a friend, you know, because that friend may well come back week after week after week. And, you know, if everybody contributes to that, you know, we can grow it together. But yeah, talk to your employers, see if
You
anyone's
can start, you've got posters there. I've given you all like a set of posters for the next game, and all those general posters, you know, just take it to your local shop, your local boozer, barbers, places like that, cab firms, get them to put it up, you know, just get the word out there, you know. That doesn't cost me hardly anything to produce those posters and sort of flooding the town with them, and that's, you know, you can start by doing that sort of thing, but, you know, you can buy, you know, an extra 500 club ticket, you know, if you've got one, if you haven't got one, buy one, just, you know, not everyone's got a load of money, but, you know, just little things you can do. If you can't, you know, hand over money that way, just help spread the word, you know. I do most of the pubs in the town through the centre. It takes me like 2 hours a day, you know. Take you half
Probably
an hour.
longer if you have a beer in each one.
The first time I did it, I did have a half an hour and it ended very badly, so I don't do that anymore.
Just on that, of you lot that are here, before I give you questions, how many of you are in the 500 club? Put your hands up if you're in the 500 club. Okay, so if you look around, you'll realise that less than half of you are in the 500 club, right? So there's, let's say, 60 odd people here, 35 to 40 of you aren't in the 500 club. So you're all here tonight with the best interest of this football club at heart, but you're not spending £5 a month, which isn't a lot. When you work it out, it's 17p a day. You go into a shop and buy something for 17p a day. There's very little you can buy. So you've got to look at yourselves as well. Could you put £5 a month into the club? Could you put £10 a month in? It's something, it's not just for this lot to look at, it's you guys as well. So I'll come over with a couple of questions.
I've been a year, I've won 3 times. Just as easy as that.
There's always one that wants to boast, isn't there?
You are does he do the last one?
Been here 7 years, I've won once.
Can I come back and extend on what John was saying there? If Xanadu happens and we do get promotion, are we ready for the invasion of 100 supporters from other conference clubs?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've seen probably one of our biggest challenges today at Arbour Park was managing Hereford. You'll probably remember that a couple of seasons ago. We had Silver Commanders down here, we had all sorts of police down here, and it's kind of almost become de rigueur to do that. And if you'd have said that to me 3 or 4 years ago, when you know, I kind of first started working with Steve at the time when we were trying to plan events here, and the loopholes that we have to jump through for the council and the local Thames Valley Police football officers and everything, it's phenomenal. To then come through to being able to run Rochdale games, to be able to run Gillingham games, different ways of segregating and controlling games, yes, you know, we feel absolutely confident and comfortable that we can do that.
Just a couple of questions that have come through via the emails, mostly to Craig, these couple.
Thank you.
Craig, we've got advertising boards around the ground. There doesn't seem to be as many Slough ones as there are Slough Borough Council.
Okay.
And if you could cover that one, and there was also signs with businesses. So a lot of people are saying that we've got Heathrow, we've got a big trading estate. If you explain what you've been doing to try and get into that, then people will realise what we've been doing as a club. We're not just sitting around.
Okay, well, I am just sitting around at the moment. But, so, basically, the signs that we have out there that are Slough Borough Council, we don't have any say over those. They're Slough Borough Council, they own the ground, and although me and Kay have tried on a number of occasions to get them to give us more, at this point in time they're not going to move on that. So we have more boards this season. It's the most boards we've ever had in the ground, and we've now got some boards on this side of the fence for some of our sponsors. I think we'll see some more coming up in the next 2 or 3 months. There'll be some new boards coming up on there, but we have a limited amount of space that we can put boards up. You'll see that there aren't that many spaces. Obviously, the actual fence that backs onto the main stand, nobody wants to put a board there because they basically don't feel as though they're getting their money's worth. However, on advertising and on sponsorship, I can't say any more than we've got an exciting announcement to make in the next few weeks about a new shirt sponsor. And I think there's been some questions about, I think there was one of the points that was raised was about actually, having more than one sponsor on the shirts. Well, actually at the moment we do actually have more than one sponsor on our shirts, but we will probably have 3 sponsors on our shirt. One on the arm, a small one on the back, and then the main sponsor on the front. So we've had Morgan Sindall for 2 years. And the agreement we had, Morgan Sindall just allowed for us to have another sponsor on the arm and their main sponsorship. So we're being inventive about what we can do with advertising, and I think you'll start to see a little bit more of that over the next few months and beginning of next season. But as I said, we will be telling you about the new sponsor, and it's a good deal for the club, and it's just the perfect sponsor for us. But I'll elaborate on that over the coming weeks once we've got the agreement signed and in place. So advertising in getting the kind of companies that we have in Slough. Everyone says, look, you've got all these huge companies. What I'd say to you is it is not easy to get those companies to spend money on advertising, and it never has been. We've tried to get Mars to sponsor. Lots of these organisations have charitable parts to their organisation, and you have to be a charity in order to be able to get money from them. We're not a charity. Although we're a not-for-profit, we're effectively not a charity, and that makes it very difficult. The other thing is that, I've spoken to a number of organisations, big organisations in Slough, say, well, we're just another office in Slough. We've got offices in London, we've got offices in Birmingham. So, it's actually, in some ways, it's more difficult. However, we are getting more and more advertising, and what's important for us is that the people that are advertising with us now are renewing year on year. And I speak to people and they say it's had a positive effect. So they've had people ring them and say, I saw your board at Slough Town. So, but again, I echo what everyone else said. We kind of need you guys to go to the companies that you work for and ask if they'll put a board, if they'll spend some money.
300 quid, I've talked to people at work, just small businesses, it's not a big commitment for them.
It's £375 to put a board around this for a season. It's not outrageous, and we could do with your help on that. An insider always makes it easier. So, okay.
And if anyone does want to contact any of the steering committee, you can do so on the internet. It's quite easy. So if you wanted to contact Craig, it's craig.edwards@sloughtownfc.net. So if you've got questions for anyone from the steering committee, it is that simple to get in contact. So if you find someone at your work who can help out, then all we do is email Craig. Peter?
Craig, on the boards, is there anything preventing us from running out of space to the council? Can we not put boards facing, like when you walk in, back to back?
So,
where you're having boards facing inside the pitch, can we not put boards on the back of the
we actually
come in?
Yeah.
So you can
We actually have got some. When you come for the turnstiles, there's actually quite a number of. There's about 5 or 6 right near the turnstiles facing in. So I'm glad none of my advertisers are here because they know so well. How's he watching? Is it every old game?
Pete comes through.
Oh, of course you do, Pete. But yeah, there's some there, and there's some at the other end as well. So we've got them. They're more for people that are, when they're coming in, because obviously
the issue we have with that is that people stand around that. So from an advertiser's perspective, people are standing, hiding those boards during the match. So it's less effective for them. See what I mean? So if they're facing in, people are standing and covering those ads. So.
Well, if we could have, like, say, a flag that you can take down after the game or whatever, and have like welcome to Slough, what you see when you come along the road. We're going to have dogs, you know, just put it up.
Good idea.
Put flags, you know, big companies, they see the flag, it'll be more eye-catching than what people are looking at.
Okay, no.
We do actually have that in. It's not ready now, but we are working on that at the moment. But you've got to remember that it costs to get all of this stuff printed, and then you've got to get the permission to put it where it is. So I'll come out again. You happy there, Pete?
I've got a question about the squad. When Francis left, I'm sure you said there was the opportunity for, say, 2 new players.
Well, maybe 2. So one, maybe 2. So, yeah.
We got Louis back,
Yeah.
and I'm sure I read that someone was saying that a player had been in a couple of training sessions, and you were wondering how that was going to turn out.
Yeah, so
is there any sign of anyone else being signed up for the rest of the season?
So we've had a lad who trained tonight, and he's trained all of last week. It's really difficult. Every squad decision we make is so hard because whoever we bring in has got to buy into what we've got as a squad. You've got to remember that people, when they come to a football club, more often than not, they want to be playing. So they want, you know, if you're talking to a league club, for example, and they're talking about loan players, they want you to play their loan players. So I haven't even spoken to you about this, but I've had a text message today from this evening whilst we're out training from a Premier League club saying we've got a couple of players. Would you be interested? Yeah. Would you be interested? They need them to play. They need them to play. Now, the types of position that we are only looking at, and there's probably only 1 or 2 positions that we're sort of thinking, well, okay, we maybe need to strengthen in that area.
So it's the final third.
It's the final third.
Forwards and wide players.
Yeah.
We're happy to fix.
In reality, we're looking at, you know, if you look at the 3 at the moment that have been playing in Warren, Max and Lenchin. 3 brilliant players. 3 players who give everything for us, week in, week out. All got quality, all work their socks off. Now, from our point of view, why are we going to bring in somebody on loan who may be a better player? Possibly a better player if they're coming from a Premier League side. Why are we going to bring them in for a month, upset one of those 3, and then have that disharmony within our squad? We're not going to do it, okay? So we've obviously bought Sawsey back. Sawsey is one that we loved. You can see on those who watch tonight, he's a great character in the change room. He's a lovely lad. He's still a good player. Now, we brought Sawsey in, and he won't mind me saying, Sawsey knows his position at the moment this season, that he's coming in, he wants to be part of something, and he knows he might not play every week. However, he's willing to come in, and he's willing to come in on the financial terms that we can offer him. And from our point of view, that becomes a very good squad player for us, and somebody that we're still comfortable with to bring on and play. However, if we did get a serious injury to, you know, one of your key players, then we would look at it, then we would relook at it. We're looking at a young lad, as I said, that's been training today. Is he any better than what we've got? We don't know at the moment. And the only way you can find out is sometimes by playing them. And as I said to you, why are we going to take those 3 out at the moment? So it's a chicken and egg sort of situation.
We're almost kind of waiting for an injury to a key player to bring someone in, because until that happens, we're happy with what we've got. You look at where we are in the league, look at our record, we're happy with those players. And now that we're through Christmas, and it's pretty much, apart from we just played a Tuesday and we've got Havant, it's pretty much just Saturdays. So if you get a knock on a Saturday, there's a good chance they'll be fit for next week. So we can run with a smaller squad. It's why we do well. We have a tight squad where everyone knows their place and everyone works hard. But we've been offered, I'd say, when we don't sign someone, I think people sometimes think we're not doing anything. I would say in the last 2 months, we've probably had contact with every League One club in the area, League Two, National League. You know, we've spoken to
sides, championship sides.
We've spoken to everybody. We have good contacts, and we know who's available. And we've probably, I'd say, 3 or 4 players from the National League above. I'd say there's been one at Woking, one at Sutton, one at Eastleigh, one at Dagenham. Players that we know. so Dobbo's a great example. Dobbo's a great example. Everyone loved Dobbo. Dobbo was a big hero here, rightfully so. As it stands, if we signed him on loan for a month, we could have signed him. I mean, the finances, they were asking a lot of money for him. We could have signed him, and then what do? Do we bring him in and leave max out? So when people say, oh, you need a squad, you do, but someone comes on loan, they expect to play. So that's why, for now, someone like Sawsey coming, gives an extra body on the bench, is the right thing for us. If we got a major injury or two in the next couple of weeks, you'd probably see us sign something. But we're not going to waste money on people.
And that's the thing, there's been, and I won't use there's a club in our league that are signing quite a few players, and we're not going to do that. We're not going to waste the club's money. We've never been like that. We feel that if our players give us everything, then and we're doing well, then we will continue with that. And if we feel that we need to make changes, and more often than not, we get our changes right. And I know that people would have looked at the Francis situation and said, well, why has he gone out? He's a young player. I'll be brutally honest, he wasn't our type of player. He came in last year. He did really well when he came in. We had high hopes for him this season, but he didn't quite do it for us. And that's being brutally honest. And it's nothing that we haven't said to Francis. We've talked to him numerous times throughout the season.
He was sat on the bench unhappy. He's a young lad, wants to play football, he's sat unhappy. We went to him and said, this isn't what you should be doing, he needs to be playing.
And it's not,
so we've also done the right thing by him. Yeah. He needs to be playing football, he wasn't going to play it. So.
And it's not always just a football decision. It's not always just a football decision. It's also, how's your squad? How's the team spirit? There's so many different things. We will sit there and have conversations, 3, 4, 5 conversations a day, and we will talk things through, and we'll sit there. And we knew when the Francis situation came about that there'll be some people that go, I can't believe they've done this, I can't, and we're already talking about it before it happens, but we know that what we're doing is probably the right thing. And I tell you now, Francis could quite easily go into the Football League at some point. No question, because he's got so many attributes to his game. But he wouldn't do that under us as managers. And that's the truth, and that's maybe something against us, but I feel that we get more decisions right than we get wrong. And if he goes on, great, I wish him the best. And as a club, we'll be finding out that as well.
Okay.
Neil, why Louis instead of Joe Grant? Joe Grant
So it's a similar situation, really. Love Granty, great attitude, but he needs to play. So he's at the stage of his career where he needs to play week in, week out to improve, and for us to maybe look at for next season or the season after. If we bring him back, which we can do, then he's probably going to be sitting on the bench. And that's going to be no good to his development and our longer term development. So we're looking at Granty, we're looking at Aaron Cole. They're both out at Hartley Whitney, they're both playing, and we both believe, that they've got something about them, and we might end up bringing them back at some point, but they're not going to do any good sitting on our bench as young players.
Just to go back to some of the emails that have come through, these are mainly going to be at you, these couple, Mark. It says here, what attempts are the club trying to achieve to a minimum home attendance of 1,000? And what is the club doing to encourage more diversity amongst its fans? If you want to tell people what you've been up to.
Well, so when I took over the job, I said within 2 years I'm hoping to get the average up to 1,000. I don't think it's something that's going to happen overnight, but we have had like 2 really big crowds quite recently. The first, my first game, in this role was the Billericay non-league day, and obviously Millstone. I think it would have been a bit nicer. We could have got about 1,500. So we're making good strides. Actually, the Dartford game wasn't the biggest crowd, but in terms of some of the work I've been doing in getting like different areas of the community into the ground, it was really successful. We had like 20 people come from like Sikh temples around here. Had some really good feedback from them. They all brought young kids with them. So yeah, I mean, we are doing all these posters basically every week now. All the pubs in town are getting them. Thames Opens, like the Tunbridge game wasn't a great success. Not on any of the emergency services took up, apart from the police. So yeah, we're working with them now. So sort of a bit of a learning curve. We had some really good news this week with the advertising digital board up on the A4. It's fantastic. It's not really costing us any money either. So we're giving it a good go. I don't think it's going to happen overnight, but I'm optimistic that the next 2 games will get decent crowds. We're pushing towards that.
And what we've started to do is make posters available for you guys to come and take. So we've now got the posters available for the Havant game, which is 2 weeks' time. So if any of you...
I don't want to be constantly like, I need your help, because it is my job. But I mean, we're making great strides, and we can just do a lot better if you guys just maybe take a couple of posters off me and just like give them out locally. Doesn't matter if it doesn't work. Like I say, it takes half an hour. No one's ever turned around and said no, we're not. Maybe they do like that.
You missed what I think the main part of that question, which is that the Slough community is 40% Asian.
Yes.
Okay? We don't seem to have much in the way of diversity in this club.
Absolutely.
Look around the audience here. Are we representative of the communities we've got? So I think one of the main parts of that question then was, what can we do, maybe as individuals or as a club, to try to attract people like the Asian community to come down to Manchester?
Well, what I just said, I mean, we've had great success just by taking posters, giving free tickets to like temples around the town. The Asian school down the road took a few. That's the sort of thing. So if you have, even like there's a lot of Asian shopkeepers. A few around where I work, take posters and they bring their kids along. So that's the sort of thing. I think they need encouraging to come along. I think they do perhaps see it as something just for white blokes. I think just tell them it's good. You're welcome to come down. They'll enjoy it. Bring kids in. I've had tremendous feedback from those seat tickets. And we are planning to do more. I think you should keep your eye out on the Dulwich game. That's something I've earmarked. It actually falls on a Sikh holiday. We've got some quite out there plans for the match if they come off. But we've signed up with the Kick It Out guys, and we are looking for a game to sort of do something around that, and that would probably be the Dulwich game. So we are trying. Some areas of the community it's been easier than others, but we're plugging away. And I think we're going to, rather than try and do everyone at once, sort of focus on groups at a time. I think the next one is really the Polish. I've got a few people now that I've got a few contacts there, and we're going to really push it with them. So
we've actually got some Polish kids coming this Saturday. We're giving some free tickets to as well.
But I'm completely aware of what you're saying, Mark. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to take this job. I don't think the crowd we get here are at all representative, and it's something we need to address. It's really important in terms of our relationship with the council. We have KPIs, and one of the things is that we do have to provide football for the whole community. It's definitely one of my priorities, as well as schools. I think
there has been an increase in the Asians.
I'd say that.
It definitely has.
Definitely increased.
Not enough, but it's
this won't happen overnight.
It won't happen.
I think Mark's made a real massive difference, and the stuff that he's doing, like you said, it's going to take a little bit of time, but there's no doubt. I run the bar out there, or I run the tea bar out there, and the ethnic diversity is definitely increasing in our club. It's definitely changed just in the last few weeks. We've seen a change, and it's only going to get more and better over the next 3 or 4 months and next season. but he's done an absolutely fantastic job. He's only been at it for a few months and he's just made a massive impact. So, well done, Mark.
No, not really. Also, there's been a question asked about tickets to schools, and maybe Kay, you would explain more about what we've done before.
We've always offered to schools the option of having 50 free tickets to each game, and we've really struggled to get the schools, to come along. We've actually physically gone in, taken them in, handed them to the PE teachers. They've been really excited about it, and when it comes to it, nobody comes.
Conversations like that, it really is the fact that we don't have as many midweek games. They all want to come on a midweek.
But
keep an eye on that impact on.
I mean, we've carried on doing it. We've been doing it pretty much ever since we've been at Arbour Park. We've given out the tickets, religiously, game after game after game. The council have got them. They've shared them through the school sports network. We've worked with, where we have had the success has been with schools where we've got someone on the inside. I mean, I work in quite a lot of schools in Slough. So, you guys, if you've got kids, talk to their PE teachers. If they want the tickets, we'll give them to them. We've also, Neil and John have very kindly once a month have agreed to do a coaching session for, whether it's for schools or whether it's for local teams. So they've done a couple in the last couple of months. We had one of the Slough junior teams down. We had sport for kids. They came down. Get the kids along. They bring their parents with them. The parents have spent some money. They might get the bug. They might come back again. So if you've got any contacts with young people, with youth organisations, it doesn't have to be schools, it doesn't have to be football teams. Next home game, we've got a local group of scouts coming in.
Can I just add as well, I mean, as part of my job, perhaps not this season, but planning ahead to next season, we're going to be writing basically to all the schools in Slough. Basically what I do for my real job is working with schools, like promoting research work with them. So I'm very good at getting stuff into schools and promoting stuff, and that is going to be a priority for me. Probably over pre-season, writing to our schools, offering free tickets, and using what I know through my job, like the techniques of getting schools and getting them engaged with stuff, which should be pretty easy because we're not asking them, I'm normally asking them to take an exam that they don't need to do and stuff. We're going to be offering them, hopefully, down here, National League football, maybe even get out on the pitch for the game.
I mean, the other thing that we do to encourage younger people to come in is all of our junior players get a free season ticket as part of their signing on. And more and more and more, you see, especially the girls. There's always a cool group of the girls here, and the ladies as well. Now, that we've got the ladies team. They're actually regulars at games, and the community team as well. So. We made the same offer. Actually, we worked quite closely with For Your Futures, which is Polish football academy that operates out of there, and we made the same offer to them for their kids to have season tickets.
Okay, I've got a question at the back.
What it was, when you just said about tapping into the schools is brilliant. Has anyone thought about all the kids that play on Sunday mornings? The league around here is about 30 divisions.
Really?
George Green and my two are on Sundays. I think they've got 11 teams.
Let's have a chat, Mark.
Let's chat about it. And there's obviously we've got our own Slough junior teams. There's the girls' league on a Saturday, my daughter plays it as well. I think there's 50 teams in that. No, they're scattered, but there's awful.
I think you might, because like I say, it's been difficult to work it out with schools, so that might be a better route to do.
They're free on Saturdays, most of the summer.
You've got the teams, yeah.
So it might, and trust me, looking at what I've seen the others, there's a great pride coming down in their club.
Yeah.
Sydenham Sports, George Green, whoever.
Let's catch. We're going to catch up anyway on Saturday, aren't we? I think we go. Good idea.
A next question for our managers. It says here, do our managers feel that they have got the right respect from some areas of the supporters? With what you've achieved in a short time. Do you feel that there are some people out there that maybe aren't giving you as much credit and respect that you deserve?
No. In any crowd, any club, any group of supporters, no one's going to agree with everything you do, and we don't expect people to. So I think we get tremendous praise. We get people seeing our name every week, which means an awful lot. I don't think so. I think we're doing a good job. I'm going to put it out there. I'm not being big-headed. I think we're doing a good job, and I think that's recognised. And I think people give us praise, and I don't feel undervalued at all.
No, I think as John said, you're always going to get the odd one or two that will want to come at you for certain things, but that's part of life, I think, isn't it? So I think on the whole, from us, we turn up, whether it's a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, we can't wait to be here, and see people, talk to people. So we love it.
I think the way football's gone now, everyone thinks they're an expert with all what's on the TV and all the analysis and the Carragher and Neville. Everybody thinks they're an expert. Everyone wants to have a view, and that's what's great about football. And we'll talk to anyone in the bar and listen to anyone's view. But obviously, we make the decisions, and we like to think we get them right. And one thing I was going to say when we talk about, I think supporters like signing players. It's exciting when you sign players, and we're probably a bit boring in that respect, but we don't make many signings. And I see that as a positive, in that I think it means we've got our recruitment right in the summer, because all these clubs that have maybe signed 10 players this season, those managers got it wrong in the summer. So I think we've got it right, but then you'll find that some people don't get excited because you only signed two players. Yeah,
lots.
I think we signed Ryan Bird to play centre back. So that was inspired.
I mean, most people won't know. I mean, we've used less than I think we've used 19 players maybe this season in league games, maybe 18, 19 players in total. There's some teams that have used that in probably about 5 or 6 weeks. So I think continuity is a big thing in life, especially in a football change room. Too many changes can often upset certain things. So we like continuity. We've always liked continuity, and yeah, if that means that we don't sign so many, so be it.
Okay. I'm aware that the time is pretty much up, and I can see Scott's got your hand up, but we are past 9:15, so I've got one question. You want to do 3? Yeah, do 3. Well, don't sit there pointing at your watch then.
We're just getting shut down in a minute, it's fine.
Scott, would you like to have a question?
Yeah. It's about the atmosphere here. I always feel that this ground is a little bit sterile in the fact that when we do go to other clubs, when you go in their bars, you see old teams, old pictures, the history of the club. The fact that I feel that we can't name any stands after some of our supporters, like the Dave Programme stand, Kevin McGoldrick stand, Chris Sisley stand. Surely that's got to show where we come from, and perhaps new supporters that come here to show where we've come from. Because not long ago we were nearly in the Atlantic League. So is there any scope for doing that?
Not really. I think it's a brutal honest. While we're renting a ground, there isn't any ability to do that. The council will not allow us to. And it's as simple as that. While we're in someone else's property, you wouldn't rent a house and then go be able to name different parts of it. Unfortunately, we can't. We'd love to. We would absolutely love to make this. We'd love to paint it amber and blue in here. We'd love to stick shirts all over the wall. We'd like to make Sue's shop even more club orientated. We absolutely would. But the truth of the matter is, and why we have so many volunteers, excellently led by AIM, is at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning, we're all down here getting it ready so that when you guys all turn up, it looks like a football club. Because otherwise, there's a meeting on here earlier, there's a wedding going on, it's multi-purpose, and unfortunately, as much as we'd love to, we have to be realistic with that, and that is the environment that we live in. If someone wins the lottery, please do. We'd buy Wexham Park back, we could go and turn that, it would be different, but we're here. It's great in some respects, but yeah, it is, you can hear how it's echoing. This isn't a great, as Neil said earlier, it feels like we're on an aeroplane or something. It's not, it's not ideal. but we try and make the best of it. And if people have got ideas, and if people have got little suggestions that we can do that make it feel more like that on a game-by-game basis, that are simple to put up, take down, we're all ears. We're all ears. We want to make it feel home for everybody.
I think the only thing that we've got is the Kev McGoldrick physio room. I think,
and that's pretty much the only thing in Slough Borough Council that has actually been named.
Yeah.
So we got a plaque on the door downstairs, which is fantastic.
Yeah, fantastic from the council for to allow us to do that. It's frustrating because you'd love to, as you say, you'd love to be able to commemorate all the wonderful people that have been involved with the club, but we just don't get that.
Well, and also even from a sponsorship perspective, we can't even say, hang on, you know, whoever it might be, O2 or something like that, would you like to sponsor that stand over there? We can't even do that, you know, which is frustrating from a different angle. So believe me, we have explored, we've pushed and we've pushed and we've pushed, and yeah.
I think, you know, the important thing is, I mean, you know, if we ever want stuff like this, is just to continue to grow the club, to continue to get, you know, people from all the community to become irreplaceable in the council eyes, and then I think once you build that relationship up with them, show them that you're kind of doing all the stuff that people are paying taxpayers money for, we can actually do it, you know, at minimum cost. That's the point when you can start to say, well, you know, we've got something to negotiate with. But very early in that relationship with the council, and, you know, it's their buildings.
I think if somebody wants to win Euro Millions, that would be perfect. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So.
Can we have one more question from the floor, if anyone's got a question? Oh, look, there's two now, isn't it? Oh, one of them's drunk, so that's out.
I used to go and follow Slough Jets for many years, and sadly the same scenario happened. They had a main money man, he disappeared and they dropped, and again sponsorship was really difficult. But what they have in the arena, the old arena, again I don't know the new one they have, but a player who'd been there for a number of years, his shirt was retired. So say he played with number 44, and he was at the club for a long time, and those shirts or replicas were hung up all through the arena, and you could maybe have something like that, and just so they're hanging and then taken down after the game, while you're in the presence of having a match.
I guess that's another job for somebody else to do. Yeah. So it's a great idea, but it's then another job that somebody else has got to do. Yeah. So you know, you don't come back to the volunteers. Yeah. It's more volunteers.
Probably a little group of like these guys all have more than enough to do on match day. So it's probably like a makeover team that come in every home game, maybe come in at 11 o'clock rather than 1 o'clock, and have a box of things that they stick up and then they take down. And it probably needs someone who will take responsibility for that. So if someone wants to, that would be brilliant.
And that's the thing. I mean, as we've said, we are volunteers ourselves, and there's a lot in the room. I mean, how many volunteers have we got? In stick show hands. Who volunteers regularly? I mean, you know, and that's fantastic. But we always want more, and it doesn't necessarily have to be interfering with your watching the football or anything like that. We don't, you know, that for you know, people here are first and foremost football supporters. They want to watch the football. We get that. But there are always other ways, both on match days and also away from match days. You know, like Mark's saying, with posters and things like that. We need you. We are a club of the community. It's not just us, just because we're sat up here. As I said, we're custodians. We need all your support and involvement to do that. And it's as much on everybody sitting out there as it is on everybody sitting up here, you know, for me. Okay. Hey, where are you?
Yep. I'm here. Question?
Because right now we've only got the first team. Have we thought about maybe getting reserves, and are we looking at getting youth teams like coming through? Because I think the oldest we have the youth teams is under 15s. Are we as a club looking at getting a reserve team in and then a youth team?
Yeah. I mean, we're always open to, you know, some suggestions. We've had discussions with numerous, you know, groups of people that want to bring teams in. We have grown the club incredibly over the last few years. You know, at the point we moved back here, it was the first team and nothing else. You know, the Pals, the community team have developed. We've got two community teams. We've got the ladies. The juniors are up to 5 teams now. You know, the oldest of those is under 15s. So, you know, hopefully they'll go on and progress through the club. We started very small children coaching sessions so that we can, you know, start from the bottom and start, you know, having a new under 17 each year. So all of those sort of things are happening to sort of grow it from the bottom. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, you know, sort of having under 18s, having under 19s, having under 23s, that's all, it's all great. It all costs money and it all takes organising. So yes, it's always something that we'll look at, and yeah.
Can I just go on to because you mentioned a reserve team. Reserve teams nowadays, years ago, lots of sides happened. Lots of sides had reserve teams, and you used to have people that are happy to play in reserve teams. You don't get that these days. It just doesn't happen. People want to play senior football, and what happens is, you know, they will end up playing for Burnham, Windsor, somewhere to play senior football and maybe earn a few pounds as well. Do you know? So the days of reserve team football are long gone. Like, not being funny, from our point of view, if we're going to look at a reserve team, we're not going to have a player that can step up into our team that would be happy playing in the reserves at Slough Town Football Club. It's as simple as that. So that's why you often see the whole dual registration. You know, in terms of Hartley Whitney, we've obviously got a relationship at the moment. Noyes is at Windsor. We've had a few that have played for Beaconsfield. That's what happens nowadays. I think reserve team football is predominantly dying.
Also, where we are at a club now, the top end of National League South is such a difference. It might be different if you're a step 4 club or a step 5 club. You know, reserve football's not that far off it, but it's a million miles away now from where our first team players are.
Yeah, I mean, the under 23s is an interesting concept. You know, it's something that, as a club, I know we're in discussions with somebody at the moment to potentially almost run it away from the club, but with our backing, effectively. That might happen, it might not, and
that would be looking at players that dropped out of the professional game into a 23s environment where we could then maybe pick from there.
But who also might be playing for other clubs at the same time. So, you know, there's lots of caveats to that. It is something that we've talked about, something we've looked at, but as Kay mentioned, there's also a cost implication, and we're here talking about, well, you know, we need to move the club on as well, so we can't be going off in so many different angles. You know, we've got things that we look at, and I think with the ladies, the community teams and stuff like that, I think the club have really sort of progressed it, but sometimes you can't do everything.
And the majority of those teams are financially self-sufficient. And things like the community team, the club, the pals. No, they're not called pals, they're called the community team. You know, that is run by the club. That is, you know, sort of funded completely by the club. But the other teams are all financially self-sufficient.
Can I ask them, what level do we actually need to be at to attract FA Football Academy funding? Because there's the FA actually provide funding for football academies, don't
they? They do.
Which provide both an education and training for.
They do, and the club had that at some point a number of years ago under Mark Betts, and being brutally honest, it didn't really work. Right. You know, we got burned, and it didn't really work for us as a club, and
again, it needs people to do it now. So if you know, it needs people, time and effort, and the reputation piece that we had previously caused us, you know, huge implications that then affected the parent club.
Yeah, and it's I know obviously the thing is it's such a saturated market as well now. So you only have to look around the area. You've got a number of academies that are up and running. There's a new one that's going to be coming, which is Pulse, which you'll see Pulse and Slough, and there's Fab. You know, there are so many of them around, and they are saturated. I think some of the clubs that got in early, possibly on those, are probably doing quite well out of those. But to actually go into it now, it's probably a bit of a lost leader for
and I think for some of the clubs that have got their own facilities, that have got their own ground, that have got somewhere they can use as a classroom and things like that, there's probably pretty good money to be made in it. But you know, for us in this situation here, when you don't own it, you have to be renting it off of the council. Plus, I don't think we'd be allowed to do it.
Yeah, anyway. We're not this facility. You're not allowed to run education courses from.
So no, basically.
If we could just wrap it up with one question. Does the club have a 5-year plan, and if so, what is the 5-year plan? As this is your steering committee that in theory run and owned the football club.
We don't have a 5-month plan, let alone a 5-year plan. No, I think a 5-year plan is a bit far ahead in football. At our level it is, certainly. But one of the things that this steering committee has been looking at is the future and looking at, answering those questions that have come up about whether we could go up into the next.
Well, 5 consecutive promotions in Premier League.
No pressure then.
But yeah, so we're spending time looking at that. So a lot of my time at the moment is working out, if we went up into the National League, what would our expenses be? All of the things that you have to think about. We need to know about those things now. But as far as 5 years is concerned, yes, we'd love to be an established National League side looking at going into the Football League. But at the moment, we have to be realistic, and getting into the National League would be a great start. Let's put it that way.
And let's be honest, if we went up into the National League, we're not going to be going full time or anything like that. If we went up, and if we amazingly got up this year, we would have to punch above our weight massively, and I mean massively. Not something that we couldn't do, but we would massively have to punch above our weight, and that's where you can sometimes grow as a club. And it's a little bit, I know maybe it's slightly different because they've got Peter involved there as well, but they went up, they sort of stabilised, stayed part-time, and they've now gone to 3 mornings a week training, and you can sometimes develop that way.
It would be tough on the fans,
It would be tough on everyone. It was tough on everyone.
Long journeys and that.
Yeah. But who wouldn't love to? Who wouldn't love to do it? I mean, it'd be unbelievable, and that is our desire. That is our desire. We want to get there. We want to get there with Slough.
And just for the avoidance of doubt, that's the desire of the board as well. That's what we want as well, and that's what we're aiming to support Bates and others to be able to do that. So, that's a definite. We're doing everything we can to make sure that we could support them to do that and go into the National League and be able to hopefully survive in the National League.
Happy? Thank you all for coming. I think you've got some truths that maybe you weren't expecting from certain bits of how hard it's going to be. I think what you also have to realise is that we need you guys to help out as well. We're not asking you necessarily to go and get a major sponsor, but even if you took the posters that are underneath your seats or on your seats when you sat on them, put them in a local pub that you go to, put them in your room at work, like your staff room, anything like that, you guys can still help, even if it's a small bit, because we all need it. Slough is a big place, you all know that, and Mark and other people, we can't cover that whole area amongst us. We need some of you guys who have come along tonight. You obviously care about the club because you're here tonight, so maybe if you guys could help out, Mark's around to see, or Kay, if you need, come up to any of us, we're all on the committee, and we'll help you out. We'll tell you where to go, who to go to, posters, anything like that. The club wants to go further, and I think we need your help. So thank you for our panel.